Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Happy Friday. So excited.
Happy Friday. It's good to have a Friday.
It seems like one comes every week, whether you try or not. It's there.
Funny how that works out, isn't it?
It's almost like it's scheduled.
That's right. I think you might be onto something there.
Hey, every squirrel finds a nut.
It's funny. That's usually my saying. So, you're stealing that for me.
Sorry, I won't steal it anymore.
No,
hey,
that's all right.
Why don't you explain to people what we do and why we're here? Because someone critiqued my efforts yesterday and said I was far too, what was the word they used? You were relaxed with it. And Tom does it so much more like seriously and professionally. I was like, oh, okay. I said, did you get the point? They're like, I did, but it wasn't like Tom makes it sound really important. You made it sound like it was just something you guys do. So I think that's credit to you.
And it wasn't me who said that to you, correct?
No, it was not. Absolutely not. No, it's someone who I didn't even know listened.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we try to provide you with the one thing, as the introduction said. We'll have a discussion around a topic, and we hope that if you have thoughts, comments, or ideas, you'll feel free, if you are watching this live or recorded on Facebook, to share them, because we know that adds value to the show and might help someone else. If you're listening to this on our podcast, please feel free to share it with others, because we know that there might be people out there desperately looking for what we have to share. And then at the end, we'll share our one thing, so that hopefully you can walk away with something that may help you today, or you'll have it in your toolkit to help you somewhere down the road. So now, we have been talking all week about the Renegade investment, and we talked a little bit about what that was, a little bit of how you do it personally, how you do it professionally. So today, we're going to talk about the discoveries that we have made throughout the week. But before we get to that, you had that look like you think I forgot something.
No, I was trying to remember what my celebration was, because it was complicated.
All right. So the first thing we always do is we celebrate. And so, Bob, since you've hopefully remembered, why don't you share what you're celebrating today?
So as you know, Tom, I think I have 23 now nieces and nephews. And one of them went off to school for her junior year of college in Florida this semester, and it was a difficult decision for her, but she posted an Instagram post last night where she described the things that she could control in her life. And it was what she eats and who she befriends and whether she exercises, and that discovery for her is huge. And it's something to celebrate. And the fact that not only did she make those discoveries, but she shared them openly with people, because she's a pretty insular person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm celebrating the fact that, you know, sometimes an experience like college or going away for a job or the Peace Corps, it's not always about the academics and about the work itself. It's about the self-discovery.
Sure. So did you reach out to her? And
I have not yet. I just saw it right before this. So that is on my list. She and I have a series of running jokes, and I've been texting her. So I will text her later this morning.
Maybe she's been listening to the show, because we've talked a little bit about often the things we can and cannot control. Maybe. I
doubt it.
Okay. Well, you never know.
It could happen.
It could happen. You won't know until you ask, right?
I wouldn't ask that. That would be one of those things, if she volunteered it, I wouldn't ask that. I don't ask people if they listen to our program, typically.
Yeah, I don't either.
I find that really like, hey, do you listen to our program? I really need the affirmation, because half the time they lie. Oh yeah, I listen to it. Oh yeah, I catch it when I can, which is 0.
No, you don't know that. You think they would just tell you an untruth?
I am surprised every time someone says that they listen to the program or watch it. It surprises me. I've never been comfortable with that. Not once.
That's a discovery of the week. That's something we may have to dive into.
Good. I don't. My work is done. Are you writing a list of all the therapy sessions we're going to do in the coming weeks?
I've been making some mental notes, so I think
we should just have a week where the whole topic is Bob's issues. I think we might draw a better crowd that week than any other week.
I don't know. Well,
especially if people can contribute. Ask Bob about this. Ask Bob about that.
We haven't done it in a while. So
Bob 18 years ago, can you have him explain why he did this silly thing?
It was just what was real for him. So that's okay. It's all right. It's all good. All right. Well, that is great. And, I think it's one of those things that's cool when you watch. One of the things I think that's great about watching people not grow up, but move through their journey, continue along their journey, is that they discover things. And I think sometimes there are discoveries that make a significant difference in their lives. I mean, I think if at that age, they're able to determine that they can't control everything, that's a significant step forward, because sometimes we don't figure that out until a lot later in life. And not that they may not forget and have to be reminded sometimes of that, because I think those are things that it's great in the moment that you have acknowledged that that's the case. And likely 3 weeks from now, there will probably be something that'll happen that'll be out of their control. And they won't necessarily consider that until they are reminded of it. Sorry for what?
I hit a button and it started to play the intro to our program.
Oh, I didn't even hear it. I was so busy in my thought that I didn't hear it. Sorry.
So what are you celebrating today, Tom?
So what I'm celebrating today is, I'm going to change it just based on what you said. So I was on campus, as if you listened yesterday, and actually for 2 days, you know that I went up to my alma mater, Hamilton College.
You're still there?
I am still there, yes, to do some volunteer work, because it's their homecoming weekend and they're doing a giving drive, and I'm involved with my class. And so I was on campus, and it was a beautiful sunny day. So I'm celebrating that for one thing. It was fun to just be back in a space that brings back so many fond memories and is such an important part of my life. And then to have it just be a gorgeous day where I could just sit and do some work and do some volunteer work and all of that. And, I was reaching out to some classmates and heard from some people that I probably hadn't thought about or hadn't seen in 30 years. And every time I get one of those messages, it just reminds me of how powerful the experience was and how special the people who I shared it with. Not only because my situation, not only was I there as an undergrad for 4 years, I stayed to work in the alumni office for 7 years after that. So I know a lot of people in a lot of different parts of my life, not just being an undergraduate student. And so I ran into my former boss, who ran the Alumni Development Office when I was there. And we were having a nice conversation. And I shared a story that I think I've shared on here about, a session that he ran where we were talking about work, and I wanted fun to be included in the work. And my senior level manager was like, there's no fun in work. And we laughed about that. And then he actually said to me, I enjoy seeing you on Facebook. And, so I don't think he's a regular watcher or viewer of our show. And he has clearly seen it. He knows a little bit about what we're doing. And so I think that, that are the things that we aren't expected. We made an investment in the show in doing this. A big part of that was for us, and we knew that it would have impact on others. And so the fact that he recognized that and got some little bit out of it, even if it was just, oh, hey, there's Tom. And he's always appreciated my wife more than me, or at least he's jokes about that, which is rightly so. She's an amazing person, and I'm And
you're just trying to make up for your misgivings, your misdeeds earlier in the week, aren't you?
now, why did you have to go and ruin that? It's actually really
it
true.
was just there.
He always asks about her, which is great. I love that. I love that he thinks about, all that is a part of me, not just, my time as an employee.
What is this man's name, Tom? Can you say it out loud?
Sure. His name is Dick Tantillo. He's a great guy.
Dick Tantillo. Dick, if you're listening, watching, thank you for your interest and thank you for what you did for Tom.
Absolutely. He was a great boss. He brought it was interesting. We went from two very different styles, and both were beneficial and both were impactful and effective for me, at least. And he's been there probably close to 30 years.
Wow.
So he's not only had an impact on my life, but many others. So that was my celebration, is I just had a really
nice.
good time.
I like that. And we are celebrating something nationally today.
Correct.
Tom,
what's the big day?
Is American Touch Tag Day. And I did some research on this one. Tag, right? Tag you're it, and then everyone runs around and you try not to get tagged.
Yes.
This goes all the way back to Rome, ancient Rome. They've been playing tag. And the organizers of this day, it's a motivator to get kids and adults to go out and exercise, because you don't need any tools, no equipment, no uniform, no, there aren't a whole lot of rules. Pretty much you're tagged or you're not tagged.
So if every time I happen to touch someone, I'm tagging them?
What's that?
Does that mean that every time I touch someone, I'm tagging them?
If you're playing tag, yes.
Okay.
Have you ever played tag?
I'm sure I have. Not in a long, long time.
Okay. I played it about 2 years ago with the kids next door.
Nice.
Usually what happens is it evolves into really big laughing and a lot of yelling, like, no, don't come after me. Don't come after me. That's really a big part of it. So if you hear that all over the world today, that's what's going on there. Tag games breaking out everywhere.
Do they just break out, or do you have to organize them?
I mean, I guess you could break out. We did it in college. You're on Hamilton's campus. We had a big tag game right before midterms. Someone just said, hey, let's all go out and play tag. And everyone just left their desk, left the library. It was a mess. It was chaos. But I think it was a good tension reliever.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah. Tag Day.
American Touch Tag Day.
I wonder how others will celebrate.
You're comfortable touching and being touched by.
Yes, let's not encourage people to go out and without asking.
For so many reasons.
Correct.
Yeah.
Probably a good time for us to move on, I would say.
Probably should have been about 30 seconds ago.
Fair enough. All right. So let's dive into our topic. Actually, we've been diving into it. So let's come out of the water and come up with some conclusions to share. How about that for a description?
Nice.
I think that the whole idea, well, I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts, maybe some of your discoveries for this week about investment?
My discoveries are actually not what I expected, and they all happened outside of the program. I talked to 4 or 5 people about this topic this week, and almost to a person, they were like, I don't have time. I just can't do this. I get the idea of investing in myself, but I'm investing in myself by doing my job. And it's like, well, okay, that's great, but where do you grow in that job? Where do you build that so that you can take the next step? Because your company's moving, your organization's moving forward, right? The challenges differ over time, right? Yes. How will you be equipped to deal with that? And I gave them the example of when computers first started coming into the workplace. How many people went out and had to get training on how to use Microsoft Excel? There were courses on Microsoft Word. There were courses on simple internet. How I can remember going to a course early on, which was how to bring a computer into your office. Now, now everyone knows how to do it. That was a pretty big shift. The personal development, the organizational development, the companies that made that investment retain their employees, because there are plenty of people who computers came and they're like, I'm 2 years away from retirement, I'm out. And I talked to someone a couple weeks ago, their company was bringing in Salesforce as a customer relations management software.
Mhm.
And they were close to retirement. They're like, I'm out. I'm not going to learn this. Nope. I learned how to do email. I learned how to do Excel spreadsheets. I learned our customer system that we had. I'm not learning another thing. And they quit. That's the alternative. And I think the other thing I would say, Tom, is investing in yourself and your organization for development. The part we didn't talk about that occurred to me last night was it's a time investment. You can't just check a box. You have to invest the time. So I have a coaching client who has some employees, and I'm coaching some of her employees. And she's allocated to the employees. It's okay to call Bob and be coached. This is part of your job now. This is not like if you can fit it in. This is not, once a month. This is, I committed to this for us as an organization because I want you to grow. And that's the kind of commitment that I think employers have to have towards this. It can't just be, here's $5,000 in the account. You can use it, but no one ever has time.
Sure.
You've seen that, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, there's no doubt.
I bet the training budget at many organizations is the same mythical $10,000 that it's been for the last 18 years, because no one knows what it would be used for. No one knows why it would be used for. And they certainly don't know the procedure to ask if they could use some of it. They may not even know it exists.
Well, and I think that more lately, those are the budgets that are getting cut.
Yep.
There are organizations that are struggling. They're like, okay, well, I can clearly remember being at different institutions where, okay, there's no money for professional development this year. We're taking that out of the
conferences, right?
Right, which is such an interesting thing, to think about. It's like the one opportunity or an opportunity you have to grow your organization, and you choose that in a time of struggle to eliminate something that could provide growth is an interesting leadership decision.
Well, and look at you going up to Hamilton for a couple of days. I know you're doing some work along the way, but there's an investment of time.
Sure.
And that investment of time, if you think of what you can make in an hour, you're contributing thousands of dollars by being up there, by helping that school. But at the same time, you're developing deeper relationships. You're getting information, you're getting knowledge, experience, perspectives, things that you can bring back and say, hey, this thing's going on. We saw something this morning. I asked you about something that you did on Facebook, and it's like, hey, could we use that? That single thing, not a huge thing, but that single thing, we would have never gotten to that otherwise.
Maybe you're right. You wouldn't have gotten to it. It wouldn't have been as quickly. That's for sure. Well,
and I think it's also having that eye for what you're discovering that isn't just the curriculum of whatever that professional development thing is. Oh, I'm learning how to do pivot tables in Excel. Well, while you're learning how to do that, the instructor might be really a good connection that knows other people, that when you're going to hire someone, he or she might know the right people, or someone you're talking to might be a potential customer, or it might be a potential vendor. And I think that's the investment part of this that gets discounted. It's what we've been saying. It's results. If you're going to learn how to do pivot tables or how to write better essays, better grants, you better come home with a beautiful grant writing experience that you're ready, and you're going to win every grant, or the evaluation is, that wasn't worth it. Wow, I wouldn't do that. And I find the biggest thing that people get from investing in themselves and getting away from their day-to-day is the opportunity to just clear their head and see things differently.
Well, I think and that I think is where one of my takeaways, discoveries this week is along those lines. I was thinking about that as you were talking, is that, we go into so many of these things with expected results, right? As we talked about the other day. And I think when we go to a conference, let's just use your example, to write grants, and all we think about is my only expected outcome is that I will be a better grant writer. I think you're cutting yourself off to other opportunities that are likely to pop up, just given the fact that, while yes, that's the intention of the event, there are other things that you might learn. And you might learn that being a really good grant writer maybe is not as impactful as being a really good connector. And so you go and find, who do we know in our organization that knows people on the board of that organizations that's offering those grants that might put us in a better spot. Doesn't matter how great sometimes your grant writing skills are, if the organization that you're applying to doesn't know who you are, doesn't know about your mission, hasn't seen the work in action, doesn't have an advocate supporting what you're trying to achieve. And so I think that oftentimes when we go in with those expected results, we miss the opportunity to discover the other things the investment may provide that we weren't even expecting. Like you said, we discovered something that we could be doing within our ring of renegades that was nowhere on the radar screen of why I chose to come up here. And I think so often that is because we don't take the time to really evaluate the results of the investment. We look at the immediate result and the kind of intended result, right? I came up here to help out the college and do whatever. And okay, yeah, that was the intended result. The unintended results, or the unexpected results, are all the other things that came from it. Again, I got to learn that my old boss actually sometimes listens to this broadcast. We saw something that Hamilton employs that we could employ into our work. You have a conversation with someone where I learned something about that, said, I might want to look at that a little bit differently. And I think so often that we are so focused on the intended results or the expected results that we miss out on all the other things that are gained, because we would walk away from that conference saying, well, I didn't really become a better grant writer, so it really wasn't valuable.
Or I didn't like the instructor.
Correct.
He didn't teach me anything.
Right. The room was too hot. The day was too short or too long, or, again, those are all just evaluation judgments that we are placing on it. Not really. Now, that could be part of a broader evaluation of the investment. And yet, so often, I think we don't take the time to do that. And so we miss some of the unexpected results that we could have gained.
Tom, why don't you tell people how they might be able to access those hidden gems, those results that they might not be thinking about? Because we're doing something in the next week or two that'll give them an opportunity, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sure. Happy to do that. So I think one of the things that happens is we go through our day and we accomplish some things. Sometimes we make progress towards those big, important goals that we have, and other times we don't. And I think so often one of the things we don't do is step back and say, what did I learn from the day that I had, from the actions that I took? So often we just spend time focusing on the results that we got. I only crossed 2 things off of my to-do list, and I added 6. It's an easy way to go in and say, wow, that was a really ineffective day. Happens all the time. Heard people say that a million times. If they really stopped and take a look at what were the 2 things they crossed off, which might have been 2 of the most important things, that day becomes a lot more effective and a lot more valuable to moving forward. And I think, so what we want to do is provide people with the tools to be able to do that, so that over the next 6 weeks, they can find a pathway to their goals. They can find a pathway that allows them to attack the things that are most valuable and most important in the day without judging just how many things did I cross off. what are the other things that I did or didn't get done, and whether that makes it a good or a bad day, and really having the tools to make that easy to do. And so our goal is to provide people with 6 weeks to build a routine to really evaluate and learn from all the actions that they take. It'll be a great opportunity to connect and engage with others who are trying to figure out the same pathway, with members of our Renegade Success Network who, for months, some of them, have been working to figure out some of those things. It'll also provide you with some feedback. Bob and I are going to have office hours available so that when you're stuck, you can come and connect, and we can help you figure out how to take that next step. And the next step that is going to work most effectively for you. Not just the next step because, oh, it's day 10, this is what you have to do. It's, I'm really stuck on something that's a part of day 4 or 5, and that's okay. Even though it's day 10, we're going to be here to help you move forward. And so that challenge, that program is going to start on October 16th. We still have a couple of spaces left, I think, Bob.
Yes.
Because one of the key things for us is that this is the first time we've offered this in a group atmosphere. And we want to make sure that we take care of all of the needs of the people we have. We can't guarantee anything, except that we're going to do everything we can, provide you with all the resources we can to help you figure out what your next best step is, and either achieve or move very closer to your goals. And it's going to allow you to focus on the things that have the most priority and that are helping you moving closer to that, not just the things you feel like you need to do to cross them off a list. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to put a comment.
I put the way to get to it in the chat while you were speaking. So
awesome. Great.
And if someone wants to talk about it, just simply reply to wherever you're seeing this. Just say Renegade, and we'll be happy to talk to you about it. Or if you're watching the podcast, you're really talented. If you're listening, I did it. You do it every now and then. I did it. If you're listening to the podcast, you can go to ringleaders at renegadesuccessnetwork.com. And if you got a message saying that email doesn't work, it works now, I promise.
Yes. And I think that it's one of those things, I think we talk about investment all the time. And I guess I would ask anyone who's listening or watching this is, what's the last investment you made in yourself or your business? And if you haven't in a while, are you really creating growth? I think you started with it. We started with that when we were talking about one of your nieces or nephews, and growth is not always easy and is not always identifiable by ourselves. I think that's one of the misconceptions, is that, can we find some growth alone? Absolutely. And I think we find even greater growth when we involve others, because it brings in different, as you shared earlier, knowledge, experience, and perspective that we don't have, or would take a whole lot longer for us to figure out. Like, you said about the thing we could do with the Ring of Renegades that I picked up from Hamilton is, could we have maybe figured that out at some point? Sure. The fact that we were able to, you evaluated and saw it and thought it was interesting and said, could we do this for our community? I said, absolutely. We came to it a lot quicker because we had someone else's knowledge, experience, and perspective that we took the time to leverage. And that's really, I think, what we're trying to provide, is sharing more of the knowledge, experience, and perspective that we have to help you enhance what you have, grow, and move yourself or your organization forward.
Nice. Well done, Tom. Well, folks, since Tom did that part, I get to do the ending, which is good. I want to tell you about a private group that you've got to join. See how I put that at the beginning, Tom? Changed it up a little bit. So we have the private group. It's called the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. And you may say, why would I join this private group? Well, more than 1,000 people have done it already. And what we're doing is we're gathering the people who are renegades, or trying to figure out how to be renegades. And you may be saying to yourself, am I a renegade? If you're trying to do things your own way, carve your own unique pathway to success, you meet the definition of a renegade to us. It could be the way you deal with your employees. It could be the way you do sales. It could be the way you schedule appointments. It could be the work hours you choose. It could be any number of things. If you feel like what you're doing isn't straight down the line what everyone expected, and people are like, why are you doing it that way? You fit. You got to get in this group because you're going to find inspiration, motivation, support, and a community that will help you take those powerful next steps and not feel bad when you ask a question like, hey, everyone else is saying this, but I want to do this. What do you guys think? That's the kind of discussion that you can have. So all you have to do is go to Facebook, look for Ring of Renegades, and join our group. They'll ask you why you're a renegade. No big deal. Just tell us. I gave you some of the answers here. You could pick one of the ones I just gave you, and we're not going to come to your house, knock on the door, and say, prove that you're a renegade. We do not have those tools yet. We're working on that, but that's a next generation thing.
Excellent. Good job on that. I would also say that if you are listening to the podcast, one of the best ways you can support and help get these ideas out is rate us. So you can go in wherever you are listening and
5 stars. It's subliminal.
Not anymore. So you can go in and rate the show. And we hope that you will do that because that provides us with feedback and allows us to learn and grow and figure out how we can improve and make a difference in the show that we are providing. So with that, we hope that you go out and have an amazing day and a great weekend. We look forward to seeing you either inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, and embrace the renegading you. It's okay.
Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.